Saudi Arabia is more bizarre than you imagine. There are some peculiar things that only exist in this country, and I'm sure you will be shocked by each of these items. So stay with me and discover the dark side of Saudi Arabia. Let's go. Number 14. Game. Forbidden sin. No country. Betting is more than a simple taboo. It is considered a serious sin, punishable severely by the law. There is no space for casinos, lotteries, or even sports bet. Anyone caught involved in gambling can face heavy fines, imprisonment, and even more serious consequences. However, as with many bans, some Saudis have found creative ways around these restrictions. Using VPNs has become a popular tool for accessing foreign online gambling sites. Even traditional horse racing, very popular in the country, had to adapt. In Riyadh, the capital of Arabia, there is a club that organizes a type of lottery related to racing. But, in order not to break the law, there are no direct cash bets. Participants just make guesses about the results, and if they get it right, they win prizes. The strict ban has led to a curious phenomenon: gaming tourism. Some Saudis travel to neighboring countries such as Lebanon, Egypt, or Morocco, where they can freely enjoy casinos and other forms of gambling. However, this option is not without risks. Traveling exclusively to gamble can be expensive and complicated. Furthermore, there's always the fear of being discovered by the Saudi authority. Number 13. Water more expensive than oil. There is an even more precious and scarce resource in Saudi Arabia: drinking water. In 2019, the World Bank revealed surprising information. In Saudi Arabia, a cubic meter of water cost 9 cents, while a liter of oil was worth just 6 cents. Doing the math, water is 1.5 times more expensive than the black gold that made the country's fortune. The kingdom faces a serious challenge in ensuring supplies for its growing population. Half of the water consumed comes from underground reserves, which are rapidly depleting. The other half is obtained through an expensive and energy-intensive process of seawater desalination. To give you an idea, around 15% of all energy generated by Saudi oil is used just to transform salt water into drinkable water. The government has been looking for alternatives to deal with this water crisis. Measures such as increasing tariffs, reducing subsidies, and awareness campaigns to reduce consumption have been implemented. Still, the challenge is enormous, especially considering that agriculture consumes around 80% of available water resources. However, you will gain 100% of the benefits if you subscribe to our channel here. So, take advantage now and sign up to follow the greatest curiosities in our world. Now that you've done that, let's go. Number 12. Public displays of affection. A strict taboo. Gestures of affection in public are more than frowned upon. They are prohibited by law. Forget that stolen kiss in the park or walking hand in hand through the streets. In the Saudi kingdom, such displays of affection can result in serious problems with the authority. The basis of this ban is the strict interpretation of Islamic law, known as Sharia, which governs many aspects of life in the country. Any form of physical contact between couples in public spaces is considered a serious violation of these religious and cultural norms. In 2019, seeking to balance its traditions with the desire to attract more tourists, the Saudi government launched a Code of Public Decency. This document lists 19 specific prohibitions for public behavior, including displays of affection. Violating these rules can result in heavy fines. To give you an idea of how seriously they treat the matter, being caught kissing in public can cost up to 3,000 riyals, about $800. But the Code of Decency goes beyond romantic issues. It also prohibits acts such as throwing garbage in the street, jumping in line, photographing strangers without permission, and even listening to loud music during prayer time. For visitors, adapting to these rules can be quite a challenge. Number 11. Birth control restrictions. The issue of birth control in Saudi Arabia is complex and reflects the tensions between tradition and modernity in the country. Although some contraceptive methods are technically permitted, accessing them can be a real challenge, especially for single women. Birth control pills, condoms, and intrauterine devices are not officially banned. However, finding them in pharmacies can be a complicated task. Women often face dirty looks or even questions about their marital status when trying to purchase these products. The situation becomes even more delicate when it comes to the morning after pill. This method of emergency contraception is completely banned in the Saudi kingdom. The official justification is that it goes against the country's religious and moral precepts. For unmarried women, the search for contraceptive methods can turn into a real odyssey. As premarital sexual relations are strongly condemned by Saudi society, Many pharmacies refuse to sell contraceptives to single women. Interestingly, a woman's nationality can influence the treatment she receives. Foreigners residing in the country sometimes encounter less resistance when seeking contraceptive method, possibly due to a perception that their cultures of origin are more liberal in this regard. Number 10. Cinemas banned for decades. For 35 years, Saudi Arabia lived without cinemas. Seems unbelievable, but it was the country's reality until recently. In the 1930s, Saudis enjoyed the seventh art normally. However, in the 1980s, a conservative wave swept the kingdom, resulting in the closure of all cinemas under allegations that they represented an unwanted Western influence. Deprived of big screens, Saudis found creative alternatives to quench their thirst for films. Many resorted to home sessions or traveled to neighboring countries in search of the cinematic experience. The situation began to change in 2017, when the government announced the return of cinemas as part of the ambitious Vision 2030 plan. The goal? Modernize the country and diversify its economy beyond oil. In 2018, the first official screening in decades was a true event. Blockbuster Black Panther ushered in this new era. Since then, the Saudi film scene has grown at a rapid pace. There are already more than 500 screens across the country, with the audacious goal of reaching 2,000 by 2030. Authorities expect Saudis to spend around $1 billion annually on cinema tickets alone. But it's not just about importing foreign films. Saudi Arabia also wants to tell its own stories. The country has invested in the development of the local film industry, promoting film festivals and even inviting international productions to film in its stunning landscape. Number 9. Mandatory prayer pauses. In the Arab world, everyday life follows a unique rhythm, determined not by the hands of the clock, but by the times of the 5 daily prayers obligatory in Islam. When the time for prayer arrives, a remarkable transformation occurs. Businesses close their doors, restaurants interrupt service, and even business meetings pause for 15 to 20 minutes. Everyday life is put on hold as the faithful turn to their devotion. Prayer times are calculated accurately using a method called al-Qura, based on the position of the sun. This means that break times vary slightly each day, following changes in sunrise and sunset times. For unsuspecting visitors, this practice can cause some confusion. Imagine being in the middle of an important purchase, or about to place an order at a restaurant, when suddenly, everything stops. Number 8. Prohibition of magic. In the Saudi kingdom, magic is not just a harmless conjuring trick. It is considered a serious threat. The government maintains a special unit called the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, or CPVPV, dedicated to combating any form of magical practice. Since 2009, this team has worked tirelessly to identify and punish people involved in witchcraft, sorcery, or even card reading. It's not just about chasing charlatans. Books, films, and toys related to magic are also targets for seizure and destruction. Authorities believe that stories about magic can confuse young minds and turn them away from religious teachings. Number 7. Weddings with segregated celebrations. Unlike Western wedding parties where all guests celebrate together, Saudis opt for a different approach. Separate celebrations for men and women. The bride enjoys an exclusively feminine space, decorated with flowers, candles, and curtains, creating a fairy tale atmosphere. She wears a traditional outfit called an abaya, a long, elegant robe. Some choose to cover their face with a niqab or their hair with a hijab, maintaining modesty even on such a special day. On the other side, the groom and his male guests have their own celebration. The protagonist wears a toba, a long white tunic, often complemented by an elegant cape and a colorful scarf called a shema on his head. Gastronomy is a highlight of these parties. Guests delight in traditional dishes such as succulent lamb, fragrant rice, sweet dates, and rich Arabic coffee. Despite the separation, there is a special moment when the groom, accompanied only by his father, visits the women's space. Its entrance is marked by traditional music and great pomp. It is at this moment that the exchange of rings and the cutting of the wedding cake take place, symbolically uniting the two celebrations. Number 6. The controversial moral police. One of the most curious and controversial aspects of Saudi society is the existence of the so-called moral police, known locally as Mutaween. This group, officially called the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, is tasked with ensuring that citizens strictly follow Islamic precepts in their daily life. Established in the 1940s, the Mutaween rose to prominence in the 1980s as a wave of religious conservatism swept the country. Its primary function is to promote behaviors considered virtuous and curb those seen as sinful. in accordance with a strict interpretation of Islam. The reach of this group is impressive, with more than 3.5 million agents, thousands of volunteers, and a robust support structure. The Mutaween have a visible and influential presence in Saudi society. They oversee aspects such as proper dress, interactions between unrelated men and women, and even participation in obligatory daily prayers. However, Mutaween's performance is not without controversy. While some citizens see them as essential guardians of Islamic morality, others criticize their methods as overly harsh and intrusive. This division of opinion reflects the tensions between tradition and modernity that permeate contemporary Saudi society. In recent years, the role and powers of the Mutaween have been the subject of debate and reform. The Saudi government has implemented measures to limit their authority, requiring them to obtain permission before taking certain action. Number 5. Historic ban on women driving. For decades, Saudi Arabia was the only country in the world where women were banned from driving. This restriction was not based on any written law, but rather on conservative religious interpretations and deeply ingrained cultural traditions. Religious leaders argued that allowing women to drive would cause moral and social problems. The consequences for anyone who defied this ban were severe: fines, imprisonment, and even physical punishment. However, many Saudi women did not passively accept the situation. Over the years, resistance movements and peaceful protests have emerged. Activists organized petitions, recorded driving videos, and used social media to amplify their voices. These actions often resulted in reprisals from authorities, including arrests and smear campaigns. The big turning point came in 2017, when King Salman announced that women would be able to obtain driver's licenses from June the following year. This decision was part of a broader modernization process led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Ironically, shortly before the ban was officially lifted, several activists who fought for this right were arrested, accused of threatening national security. When June 24, 2018 finally arrived, Saudi streets witnessed unprecedented scenes. Women drove freely, celebrating this historic achievement. Number 4. Kingdom without rivers. In an apparent geographical paradox, Saudi Arabia, a country of continental dimensions, does not have a single perennial river throughout its territory. This peculiarity poses unique challenges for water supply in the kingdom. Faced with this scarcity of surface water, Saudis have developed ingenious strategies to guarantee water supplies. One of them is the construction of dams, more than 500 spread across the country, that capture and store precious rainwater in rare precipitation events. However, the country's main source of water is hidden beneath the surface. Underground aquifers are Saudi Arabia's true water treasure. Some of this water is renewable, replenished by occasional rain, but a significant portion is fossil water, accumulated over thousands of years and non-renewable on the human timescale. The intensive use of these underground resources, especially for agriculture, has raised concerns. Fast-paced extraction threatens to deplete these ancient reserves, creating an alarming scenario for the country's water future. To supplement its supply, Saudi Arabia has become a world leader in desalination. The country transforms seawater into drinking water on an industrial scale. Water reuse is another crucial strategy. In 2019, the country reused around 2 billion cubic meters of treated water, mainly for irrigation and industrial cooling. Number 3. The Camel Empire. Camels are much more than just desert animals. They represent a true economic and cultural empire. These hardy mammals are prized for a multitude of reasons: their tasty meat, nutritious milk, warm wool, and tough hide. But it goes beyond that. Owning a camel of noble lineage is a status symbol, comparable to owning a luxury car in other parts of the world. In Riyadh, the Saudi capital, there is the largest camel market on the planet. It is an impressive sight, stretching over more than 8 square kilometers. Every day, more than 100 camels change hands in this space, bustling with activity. The market opens its doors early, at 6 a.m., and remains in full swing until noon. The environment is an explosion of colors, sounds, and aromas. Skilled traders haggle over prices while connoisseurs carefully evaluate each animal. The camels are not simply piled up. They are carefully arranged, as if they were products on shelves in a high-end store. Some particularly rare specimens, or those of exceptional lineage, can reach astronomical prices, costing more than $2,600. Number 2. Forbidden Valentine's Day. While in much of the world Valentine's Day is celebrated with flowers, chocolates, and declarations of love, in Saudi Arabia, the date is officially prohibited. This ban reflects the country's complex relationship with celebrations considered Western or un-Islamic. Saudi religious authorities argue that Valentine's Day has Christian origins, associated with a saint who allegedly performed prohibited marriages. Additionally, there are concerns that the celebration could encourage relationships outside of marriage, something strictly prohibited in the country. The ban is not just symbolic. The religious police, known as the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, carry out special operations on February 14th. They actively look for signs of the celebration, such as red roses, heart-shaped chocolates, or any item associated with the holiday. Merchants caught selling these products can face fines, imprisonment, and even physical punishment. However, as often happens with bans, creative ways to get around the rules emerge. Some merchants sell Valentine's Day-related items under disguise or using codes. There is even a black market for holiday gifts, with inflated prices due to the difficulty in obtaining them. Many Saudis, especially younger ones, find ways to celebrate discreetly. Some shop online or travel to neighboring countries to purchase gifts. Others opt for private celebrations at home, away from the watchful eyes of authorities. Number 1. Amputee football team. Among so many peculiarities that we have shown so far, get to know the national football team for amputees. Founded in 1996, this extraordinary team is made up of players who have lost members due to accidents, illness, or war injuries. What began as an initiative to provide physical activity and social integration for people with disabilities quickly grew into a high-level sports program. Players not only overcame their physical limitations, but also became elite athletes, competing in international tournaments. The team's success is remarkable. They have won medals in prestigious competitions, including a silver in Uzbekistan in 2007, bronze in Mexico in 2018, and the highlight, a gold medal in Bahrain in 2019. In addition, they have faced renowned teams such as Germany, Brazil, and Turkey in friendly matches. But the impact of this team goes far beyond sporting achievements. They have become true ambassadors of inclusion and resilience, inspiring young people with disabilities across the country. Now, how about getting to know things that only exist in North Korea? I'm gonna leave this video now appearing on the screen for you to check out. So, go there right now. Well, that's it, and until next time, curious.